What's up, everybody? You're watching Poot's Garage. We got a bunch more parts on this motor going on right now, so let's get to this. We are jumping ahead of time here, so don't look too close. Before we get going, I just want to thank everybody for sticking through with me on this channel. Thank you for all the likes, comments, and subscribes. It really helps me out as a small YouTube channel. Any little bit helps, and I really appreciate if you guys go back and you watch some of maybe my review videos that I've put out recently that aren't doing so hot, but it's the things we gotta do to grow a little bit. But I actually enjoy doing those. They're kind of fun, and I think we have a lot of fun doing them. So check them out. What a beautiful truck. We gotta get going on this thing. So in this video, we're finally gonna take care of all this power steering mess that we've been dealing with the last few weeks here. So we finally get everything, almost everything installed, minus a couple lines that need to be fabricated. No big deal though. We can do those on the side. And then we're also gonna mess with the spark plug wire retainers and different things like that. So try and clean things up a little bit. And before we get too deep into this video, we gotta head over to the map. I love going to the map. The map is fun. I like to see where everybody is watching from these days. And this is the map. So if you're new here, what we do is you comment where you're watching from, and I'll put a red pin on the map. This week we got 11 locations to put up, so let's get to it. First up is Cherokee, North Carolina. Next is Montague, Louisiana. Hopefully I said that right. Burien, Washington. San Jose, California. Prescott, Arizona. Wheeling, West Virginia. Franklin, North Carolina. Nipomo, California. Piney Flats, Tennessee. Beaverville, Illinois. And last is St. Cloud, Florida. All right, that's all the pins. You guys are doing great, so keep calling out them cities, them states, them counties, whatever you want to represent. Let's get back to the truck. Well guys, we've had probably one of the worst tragedies that has ever happened in this garage. I am really upset. So, what happened is our beer fridge, it died. This is a catastrophe. No beer fridge in the garage. I'm sad. It's empty. It's just like a void. It's like the void that's in my heart right now, except for the cat treats. But yeah, this is a representation of my heart right now. No beer, it's emptiness. I don't know what to do. Okay, so I spun it around just to give you a good look at what's going on in here. The cat's really upset too, you can tell. But this is the inner workings of a mini fridge, and sorry cat, I really had to figure out how this thing works. I gotta try and fix it, mainly because it's got all my stickers on it, and I don't want to get rid of my stickers. So there's really not a whole lot to repair in here, besides there's like 2 switches that you can replace that are kind of common issues, and I've already kind of got those torn apart. They're missing, one's removed, the other one's here. And so I was able to find a pair of them on Amazon for 11 bucks, so it's worth a shot. Just throw them in to see what happens. I have a feeling this compressor is probably locked up, but we're gonna give it a shot anyways and see what happens. This is kind of the inner workings of one of the switches. This is the like compressor start relay switch deal. I accidentally broke it. That little circular piece wasn't broken in half before, but it is now. So I definitely can't put it back in, but it was kind of in rough shape, to be honest. It's kind of got some funky looking things, some discoloration. So I'm hoping that is actually the issue, and hopefully this fridge gets me a little longer down the road. There's our new switches in there. It's actually a different style switch. This was the thermal overload switch, which I'm replacing just to be safe. It's a different style. It mounts up on top here. And I don't know if you're familiar with working on these or not, but yeah, that's what we're going with. So we're kind of doing a little updated switch just because that's the only thing you can really find. This thing's kind of old. It's dated 2006, I think. So it's had a good life, and hopefully it'll go a little bit longer here. Let's plug it in and see if it works. All right, let's plug it in. Cat, don't get electrocuted. Oh, it's working. It's actually working. The compressor is legit turning now. It's not just sounding like it's locked up. Yes. This side should be warm, I believe, and this side's cold. Oh no, this side's warm. This side should get cold. All right, we're gonna let this thing run and see if it keeps running. Make sure it doesn't get hot and shut off again. Yes. All right, I think we fixed it. I don't remember how hot this thing ran before. I mean, this is really hot. Oof. Can only touch it for so long. This side is not hot, just barely warm, almost cool. And this little line over here is hot. So it's working good. As long as the temperature isn't an issue with it, everything's going good. And the inside is ice cold. There's already ice up on the top. Everything else is already chilled. This thing is running great. We saved the fridge. Whoo! Thought I was gonna have to cut those side panels off just to save my stickers. So we are good. All right, so in the constant journey to improve our little shop here and make it as functional as I can with the little space we got, I bought a couple more tools. So I've wanted one of these small benchtop drill presses for a little while now, ever since I started working on this truck, and I'm having to fabricate little brackets and do little things here and there. I just want an easier way to drill some holes, so that's what we found. So this little Ryobi deal here, I found this on the local Facebook marketplace. It's slightly used, very little, but it's in pretty good shape, and I got a really good deal for it. So it's nothing super crazy. It's not, a professional type tool, but it's slightly better, I think, than the really Chinese ones, so I think we did all right. It does have a couple cool features. It does have a light underneath it to light up what you're drilling, which is nice. And it also has a laser, which actually makes a laser cross right where the drill bit's gonna touch, so that's really cool. But it's kind of just a super basic tool that, I think we can get a lot of use out of. Up here, it's got adjustable speed, but I have to swap the belt to the different pulleys if I want to change the speeds of it. It does have a nice metal base, a nice metal piece there, so that's cool. The lady I got it from said her husband only used it once, but I assume that was one project. I don't know what they were doing with it or whatever, but she said that he moved on to different things, so I don't know if he decided to change his hobby into something. I don't know, whatever. I bought it. So it does have, like, I don't know, this little piece down here is broken. It's like the depth gauge for how deep you're drilling into it and stuff like that, so I might try and find a new piece there, but it's really not that important anyways. All right, we plugged it in just so you can see. So we got there a little laser cross. That's kind of sweet, right? And then the drill goes right down into the point cross. So the laser's real simple. And you got a light, so pretty cool. And you can turn it on, and it turns, and you go bzzz, and you flip it off. Super simple. It also gives me the chance to finally use, this guy here. This is I guess a vise for tools, basically. So that actually needs to mount up to there, and then I'll have a way to actually clamp things on if I need to hold things down better. So these normally run for about 200 bucks online. I got it for basically $60. That's a great deal. So I'm super happy with that. And while I was there, she mentioned she had another tool for sale. And it's just this little guy. This is just a little 6-inch bench grinder. And she just wanted to get rid of it. So I asked her how much, and she was like, I don't know, 30, 20 bucks. And then I was kind of digging through my wallet, and I'm like, well, how about 75 for both? And she's like, okay. So I bought that too. I really don't need another bench grinder, but I just couldn't pass up the deal. Basically 15 bucks for this. The cool thing is, this is brand new. This has never been used. It was actually still in the box, taped up in the box, never opened. So I actually pulled it all out. Assembled everything, put all the guards and stuff on, all that goofy stuff, and it works. It's a nice little bench grinder for what it is. It's the, Central Machinery. That's the Harbor Freight stuff. These run for about 50 to 70 bucks, it looks like, online, even though you can't really find these exact ones anymore. I don't know if Harbor Freight has a shortage of cheap tools or something going on, but comparable brands and stuff, they're like 50 to 70 bucks depending on if they have a light and whatnot. So this one does have the light, which is cool. So I just got to figure out where I want to kind of permanently put this thing. I don't want to move it around too much if I don't have to, but I might just end up sliding it straight back, and then when I need it, just pull it out, something like that. And then this, I have no idea what I'm gonna do with this yet. I'll probably put it away off to the side somewhere and maybe not use it, or I might use it more than my old one down there, because that one vibrates a lot. And this one's real smooth, even though this one's small. That one's a little bigger, but I don't know, the little one's actually kind of easier to maneuver around anyways, so it's cool. So we got a couple tools going on here. It's kind of nice. I really need to find something to cut metal. Also, I want to find like a bandsaw, or maybe use like a porta-band deal with the swag off-road setup, so I can build a little bandsaw out of that. I don't know, we're exploring. We're trying not to spend crazy amounts of money, because this project has just been draining me down lately. So I'm excited. I got to build a bracket for the square body. I got to do a power steering reservoir reservoir bracket soon, so I'll definitely be able to use that to drill the holes and stuff, so that'll be kind of fun. Let's get back to this power steering. It has actually been 2 weeks since I last touched this thing. It's been a long time. Last weekend was Hot August Nights, and I did the auction thing that I put the video out. Not a whole lot of people watched that video, so make sure you check it out because that was super fun. I actually snuck the camera in there, and I got to I got to drive cars across the auction block at Hot August Nights. So I got to drive some pretty nice classic cars. It was really fun. Make sure you check that video out because I snuck that camera in, and we had a lot of fun doing it. But as for this power steering, I got some parts in, so let me show you what we got going on. So we left off where I had damaged this can to the point where I just don't even want to or try to use it anymore. So we got new parts. I don't even know if I showed this yet. This is a new PSC power steering pump can. This is a nice fresh unit. It's nothing too crazy, but it does not have the return lines, which I think I mentioned that before. But it does have this nice big AN fitting on top to run your reservoir. And the issue is now I needed somewhere to run my return lines to. So we've got this nice unit right here. This was expensive, holy crap. This is a PSC power steering pump reservoir. It's got a nice big screw cap on top to dump your fluid in. It's got the big hole for running to the pump, and then the two smaller holes are both return lines. So I'll have dedicated return lines now for the hydro boost and the power steering gear. So that's pretty cool. This is super nice unit. This is like way overkill. Got a couple different mounting options. You got screw holes on the bottom, you got screw holes in the back. It also comes with this clamp here, along with like a little push lock plastic line for running the vent on the top there. And it comes a couple basic fittings and one plug. So I definitely got to get some more fittings to be able to run all the small stuff. I gotta buy a bunch of fittings. Now you can see I already installed the can on the pump. I was kind of playing with it. I just had to make sure it goes on. It still went on pretty tough, so it seems to be on there. The O-ring around the outside was not in the best shape. I'm just gonna run it the way it is, as long as it doesn't leak. There's no pressure on that O-ring. It's just a reservoir storage basically around the pump. So hopefully it doesn't leak. If it does, I have extra O-rings and I'll tear it all back apart and do it again. But for now, we're just gonna leave it the way it is because I don't want to tear it all back apart. This thing's kind of a pain in the ass to get on and off. So I showed you our new parts. I am not gonna film this. I just want to get this thing together. So I'm gonna throw this new pump in and I'll let you know when it's done. And then we'll show you what we have planned to mount this hydraulic reservoir. I'm not sure exactly how I'm gonna do it yet, so we're just gonna have to come up with something. And the new pump is in. It's looking good. I got the belt on, it's tensioned. I was kind of playing with the reservoir, or I thought I was gonna put it on this side of the motor directly above it, but the way that fitting is coming straight up, and I still have to get a hose and stuff on there, I'm not gonna be able to put my reservoir right above it. It's just gonna be too high. So I think I'm actually gonna end up having to put it back over here, which might make it a little easier for me for making a bracket. And I can either just weld it onto that alternator bracket, or there's a couple bolt holes that maybe I can just bolt it down. I think we're gonna be okay still. So we will still have the hydraulic reservoir right front center on the motor. At least it'll be a nicer looking unit. But I guess it does allow the fan to blow across it too, to maybe help cool it down. That might be a thing. I don't know if that's a thing or not, but it might be. But yeah, we're in. So I'm just gonna install the new hoses. I got what, 3 hoses I can hook up right now, or install and kind of get them placed where they need to go. And then I can really start playing with that reservoir. Alright, all the power steering lines are ran. Those are kind of a pain in the butt to route, try to make things look good, get everything to fit right, because when they bend them from whatever manufacturer, who knows if they're exact, so you might have to tweak them a little bit. But it is better than how I had the truck before. So I have all 3 lines running through that little retainer under the master cylinder there. All 3 lines are going this way now. Remember before, my other one went that way and did some weird stuff. So all 3 running there. I have all 3 of them running through this big clamp thing here, and then we're all hooked up. I'm hooked up at the power steering gear. I'm hooked up at the back of the pump. You can see where the pump now mounts. Has a nice fitting coming off of it. Everything's looking good and retained. Next, I got to run these. Well, I can't really run them yet. These are my return lines, both of these that need to go to that new reservoir that we're gonna mount way up there. Luckily, these lines that come with it for the factory style are long enough. They're kind of like cut to fit, I guess. They have enough length to run all the way up there, and then I also have to figure out what fittings I'm going to need to buy. I'm going to need to buy AN fittings for everything, and so we can get that all figured out. But we're almost there. We're getting there, real close. So next I got to pull off that reservoir, got to pull off its bracket.
bracket and everything and kind of figure out how I'm gonna mount this new one there, because I'm gonna have to fabricate some sort of a small bracket for it. The factory reservoir is now off, as you can see by the big rusty spot there. So besides, don't worry about that rust or you know, any of the other rust on this truck. But anyways, I've been playing with this reservoir, trying to figure out where I'm gonna put it. I already knew I'm putting it up in this corner. You know, I already moved my hose clamp up out of the way for the radiator just because it was kind of in the way, but I think we're gonna end up using this bracket that comes with it, this little clamp bracket. Seems to be it's pretty sturdy, it's a nice piece, so I might as well utilize it. But I couldn't really figure out a good way to utilize the screws on the back because it's gonna be up against a angled bracket. I don't know if there's enough room to get a screw in there, so I think the best option is basically this thing is gonna go like right here. It's gonna pretty much sit as low as I can get it. So I got those bypass hoses there for the water pump and the intake and whatnot, and that kind of puts the top of the cap right about the hot factory height, so I shouldn't run into any issues. That'll give a good straight shot to the pump, because I guess you don't want to have too many kinks in your hoses and angled fittings and stuff. So I think I'll be able to run a 45 off the pump and it'll go straight into there. It should work out good. And then the two small return fittings, I either can go straight or I might even put 45s on those. I don't know yet, but we'll see. But the bracket itself is going to be over here. We're going to utilize the factory alternator bracket there. I wish I had more than two hands here. So remember how that mounts? I'm going to build just a flat bracket that comes straight out, that bracket on the reservoir can just sit right on top of, and I can screw it down. So I'll just have a flat plate just basically coming off. That'll be easy. And then I'll probably gusset it from underneath and stuff like that. So this bracket's gonna have to come off, which is fine because it needs to be repainted and whatnot anyways. But we'll make it clean and look good. We'll grind that bracket down so it looks perfect. I'll probably weld nuts on the bottom side of my new little flat section so that I can just run screws down. I don't have to worry about nuts and bolts, just bolts. So yeah, it'll make it easier. All my lines will be going across the top here. So if for some reason I need to work on that, I just have to unbolt that reservoir and it should be able to just pull the reservoir off to the side somewhere. So that might help make things a little easier. But I think it's gonna work out pretty good. So I'm not sure how much I'll get done tonight. I don't know if I want to do anything else because I really got to grind down that bracket and make it look good and stuff. And it's really late right now. It's about 2 in the morning, so I don't want to make angry neighbors. I think I might be done for the night. Actually, I might actually work on my spark plug wires. Maybe I'll start getting those in there. Alright, so as we take a little break from the power steering, I'm actually working on my new spark plug wires here, which should be an easy task. The plug wires should be fine, but I bought these new brackets that I showed earlier. I got one up here that I'm going to try and mount all my wires to kind of clean things up. These I think are a factory style, but they don't quite work because of my aftermarket valve covers I have. I have those big, tall, thick cast aluminum ones. So we are putting the drill press to work, and it's actually working pretty good. This is pretty slick. It's a lot better than trying to cut it all out by any other means I used to have. So basically what I'm going to be doing, these are the holes where the valve cover go in, but they're too deep in. They're hitting my thick valve covers here and here. And so I'm actually going to cut out the metal. I'm going to weld these washers in like this, and then that'll move the mounting hole in a little bit more. So that's where we are using a big old step bit. And we are cutting these things out. You can see I cut the end one off here and it actually worked out pretty good. Sorry for the poor lighting and the poor focusing here. If it would focus in, you can see where I've cut it out and I got a nice round area for this washer to just sit right there, and we can weld that all in and hopefully make it look decent. It's kind of tricky doing this, you know, you're drilling things out that aren't really supposed to be drilled, but because I can clamp it down so tight, the piece isn't moving and I can kind of drill off center like that, so it's working out. Turn my fancy little light on there, and I can put my laser on if I want, but it's not perfectly accurate, so I'm not going to use that. But basically where I'm going is right there, right in the middle of that mounting surface there. Kind of eyeballed it, not getting too crazy with measurements. Let's give it a shot, see what happens. Step bit's a little dull, so it takes a second to get through the first one. I feel like a machinist. Real easy, because it caught once and tried to bend it all to crap, so clamped it better and real slow. Give it a little oil. that's that. We got another one. So we've got these all drilled out. These ones with the big tang on the end here, I actually had to do those by hand with the grinder. So I did have to use the grinder a little bit, but it was nice using a little drill press. That was pretty cool. I like that. So I went through, I removed the paint with my little zip here. And then basically all we gotta do is weld these washers in just like that. So we'll just go bzzz on both sides. Grind them down smooth. I hear thunder outside. Exciting. Yeah, and then these should fit. Got a little storm coming in. Doesn't look too bad off that way. But I'm already getting rained on. Sun's starting to go down. Doesn't look horrible that way, except for the wind. Looks a little funky off that way though. We are gonna get hit here, I think. Also found my drip system was stuck on. I got a bad valve or something over there. I had to turn it off manually.
Getting nasty out there. Let's see what happens tonight. I get a little messy.
Alright, we're actually using the drill press for what it's supposed to be for. Drilling a hole. Not trying to pull holes. Not trying to get crazy. Just a straight hole. I got my step bit in there. They're just so much easier to use. Woo! Just a little oil. We'll just finish her off. Hey, check it out. We made a nice bracket. That's not too bad. It looks symmetrical. It's not horrible. I got clean holes drilled in it. Looking good. I cut this notch out here. I actually used the drill press to drill a bunch of holes along there, and then I just came through with the grinder and smoothed it out and radiused it as best I could. Looks pretty good. It's gonna be hidden anyways. But let me show you how this is gonna work. And here we are, the reservoir with our new bracket mounted up underneath it. So the reservoir will basically be sitting on top. But that's what we were going for with that bracket. Contrast is a little off here, there you go. So you can see I cut that corner out to kind of give it a little depth. Looked pretty good, or that little semicircle there. It's got a little bit of adjustability if needed. It's got some room to wiggle, but yeah, this is looking pretty good. I like it so far. Next, this actually has to get welded onto the alternator bracket, so that's kind of where I wanted to get it all together, so we can place it, maybe tack it in place where I want it, and then I'm going to take that alternator bracket back off. We'll finish welding it. We'll add some gussets underneath, and then yeah, repaint it and put it back on. It's going to take a day or two. So this is going to fit down here. It's going to get welded onto that basically. Now I left this the new bracket there extra long, so I'm actually going to trim it back so I can move it in closer. I just didn't know how deep I needed to put this because it's on a real weird angle, so we'll slowly trim it down and figure out exactly where I want to place this thing. Only real concern is I got my radiator hose here. I don't want my return lines to run into, so I want to try and keep it just below that. I got the bypass hoses below it on the intake, and then the height, I want to keep the height right about there. So yeah, I got a little playroom here. All right, so I've kind of got it just sitting in there. I got a couple things underneath it to hold it in place, and I got it real level side to side. It's got a slight tilt backwards, but it should be just about right. I'm happy with it the way it is right there. You can see I had to notch out this bracket because this piece actually isn't straight. It's actually at an angle. Playing with angles, and then I'm gonna tack this in real good so it doesn't move, and I'm gonna try and disassemble this without moving the tacks, and then we'll trim this off and do something about that later. But yeah, it's in there. It's looking good. We're doing all right. Alright, we're jumping back to these spark plug retainers. They're all done and painted. You can see we got our new little mounting holes on there. Everything is good, so hopefully these work out for me.
And it's the next day. Our paint has cured, so I can play with these brackets a little bit, see if I can get them mounted up. I'm kind of running out of time this weekend, so just want to get these things on the vehicle and then get it prepped to kind of finish things up next weekend. But let me show you what we got right now.
I think I already showed the wire retaining brackets here. Those are looking good. They're ready to go. And then this is our new modified alternator bracket. You can see my welds are not the best. I tried, but man, it did not come out right. But it is strong. It is not going anywhere. Actually, it doesn't look horrible. I mean, the bracket itself looks fine. The welds are kind of that, you know, factory machine weld look. Yeah, that's what I was going for. But you can see our gussets make it nice and strong, so that ain't going nowhere. And then I welded nuts on the inside there. I don't know if you can see it. There's nuts welded to the inside, so I don't have to worry about those. Everything seems to work just right. I want to get these on the vehicle this evening, so at least have those on, and then next weekend I can kind of button things up. And Summit Racing actually showed up today, so they dropped off some stuff. I got my 4 fittings I needed. There's one more fitting that's coming directly from PSC. That's actually another one of these. I guess I messed up when I ordered this. I kind of ordered the wrong one and I didn't realize it. The one I ordered, thought I'd ordered it for the Hydro Boost, which should have came with 2 fittings, but it didn't. It came with the plug in one and the fitting in the other. So I ordered the other. It was only like $4, no big deal. And then the other thing I noticed I did on accident was I actually ordered a taller one. I thought I ordered the shortest one, but this is actually the 8 1/4 inch tall one. I think the 7 1/4 is their shorter one, which I had wanted just to give me a little extra room to maneuver around and stuff, but hey, it all worked out and I got a little extra capacity anyways, so oh well. Then I also ordered up some of the proper power steering fluid. PSC recommends either Swepco fluid, I think it's called Swepco. It's really expensive, or they want you to use the AC Delco power steering fluid, which is really good stuff apparently. Now, either one cost about 15 bucks a bottle, so AC Delco was $1 less, so I went the AC Delco one. Should be just fine. And the differences you're gonna get with, you know, an actual proper power steering fluid or a good one versus a cheap power steering fluid is you get less foaming and different aeration issues, and I don't know, supposedly this stuff is really good compared to something cheaper you would buy just in the parts house or whatever. And they also specifically mentioned do not use ATF and do not use full synthetic power steering fluid. I've never heard of that to begin with, but for whatever reason I will use what they recommend. And we got everything back in. There's our alternator bracket, and these are the spark plug wire retainer brackets. Can't even tell those are there, so that's actually really nice. It doesn't stick out at all. I had a feeling they were gonna cover part of the valve cover and you'd notice it, but no, you don't even notice that. So that'll look real good once I get these new spark plug wires on there, but I'm gonna save the wires for next weekend because I gotta finish this up. This side is slightly different. This one only goes in 3 holes and goes on the back side. It's because of the positioning of the front hole compared to the spark plug wire. It just doesn't line up, so this one's gonna bloop, bloop, bloop. And then the 4th one goes straight up. So yeah, works out pretty good. The only thing is my bracket that goes up on top where I get another retainer is kind of buried in my wiring because this valve covers are so tall, they pushed everything up. And there's a lot of interference back there with like my main wiring harness and stuff like that, but it works. And then this is a nice close-up of our alternator bracket. Doesn't look too out of place. Looks good. It's very minimal. Now I just got to throw that reservoir on there and see how it looks. And the reservoir is bolted down. I'm pretty happy with that. Pretty well centered on the motor, so it doesn't look too out of place. We got our nice PSC label there, the new pump right there. You can see all I gotta do is run the lines from here to there to my 2 loose return lines. I'll be done with this. It's looking pretty good. I like it. As for how well we did on leveling this thing, you can see side to side is pretty well perfect. Front to back has the slightest of rearward tilt, which is fine. So I'd say we did pretty good. Looks all right. I like it. Man, it's so cool seeing PSC gearbox, PSC pump, and the PSC reservoir all in one shot now. This is wild. That's it for this video. So please like, comment, and subscribe if you're still here. Every little bit helps us out a lot as a small YouTube channel. Also, please go back and watch a few of my videos before this. You know, I know I'm kind of selling a few things and whatnot, I'm just doing review videos, but getting the view counts up on that type of stuff is real important. And I think they're kind of entertaining anyways. So I will talk to you guys next weekend.